Let us take us a moment to reintroduce all the panelists and the moderator. So the moderator, we have Kamal Nayak, founder and CEO, former UN fellow, youth representative at WFF at Good Universe. We welcome you, sir.
Yasasswini Peddi, director of Youkthi. We welcome you, ma'am.
Krishna Deevi, senior director, programs and head CSR at Cyient. We welcome you, ma'am.
Suma Niveditha, Karasala, co-founder and chief strategist of Anusashan, social consultant.
And the last one, Revika Stennett, senior executive ESG CSR of Persistent Foundation. We welcome you all. Now, we would like to hand over the stage to moderator. All yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. Before I begin the session, let me start with a small story. You know, a man was walking on a beach after a terrible storm, and he saw a lot of thousands of fishes lying over and drying over the sun. And he saw and he took one fish and threw back to the sea. And while he was doing those, one man was watching and laughing, and he said, it doesn't make any difference. There's thousands of fishes lying over and dying. And the other man, he took another fish and threw back to the ocean and said, it definitely did make any difference to that particular fish. And particularly from that story, when CSR came into the picture, that was the whole idea, to identify communities, schools, individuals, to impact at one time and one person or one community, one school. And the leaders who are present today on the dais, they are doing exactly the same. The leaders comes from various backgrounds here, and I'm very, very proud and honored to moderate this session, especially understanding the four of them comes from a place from academia, senior CSR, corporate background, social entrepreneur, and having a lot of ground experience. And I'm telling you, today, it would be not learning a library or reading 100 books to listening to them. With that note, I would not justify introducing them. I would request them to introduce themselves, starting from Suma.
Very good afternoon. This is Suma Niveditha from Anusandhan Social Consultants, co-founder and chief strategist. We are an organization which is into the realm of social impact, and we do our best to bring out the field stories back into the boardrooms for people to understand the transformations that have been made possible because of the efforts they're making. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you Kamal. I'm very happy to be here. I started as a social work graduate and then I've been associated with organizations, social enterprises, and right now I'm part of a corporate. I work for Persistent Foundation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Krishna Deevi. Thanks, Kamal, for inviting for such a nice panel discussion. Thanks to everyone. I head CSR and Cyient, which is a global engineering services company. Our founder is Dr. B.V.R. Mohan Reddy. Many might be knowing him. I'm here to share my thoughts and views about some of the questions being asked by the moderators. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, all. Myself, Yasasswini. I'm director for Youkthi, a social entrepreneurship company that closely deals with circular economy, craft, design intervention, and culture preservation. I'm also heading Ratan Tata Innovation Hub for special projects from Andhra Pradesh, and we'll take over it as a director for CSR now in Andhra Pradesh. We'll soon take over the summit in Andhra Pradesh also. So we would be we will love to hear from potential organizations and stakeholder collaborations from the team. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that warm introduction. As I was mentioning, here the esteemed panelist has a lot of experience from various sectors, corporate, social entrepreneurship, academia, research. Having said that, my first question would be to Ms. Revika around why did you choose this sector? Why CSR? Why social impact? What made you to choose this sector?
To start with, I think I should go back to school when I started as volunteering for some of the organizations. And then I studied bachelor's in commerce. I was thinking that I'll actually become a chartered accountant. But then we were also, as part of the course, we were also put into NSS, NCC or games. NCC was definitely not my cup of coffee, so I had to choose the other two. Games was something that I've been doing all my life, so I wanted to do NSS. I thought it's going to be fun and I took NSS, but it came with a baggage that we have to finish a certain number of hours in an organization. So I was placed with this organization called Bala Vidyalaya, who work for children with hearing impairment. Children from like 2 months to 6 years are placed in that school. They're given with different play materials, colors and everything. Just that they do not talk or convey through sign language. They try to talk. So when they are out from the school after 6 years, they are ready to compete with children who are not hearing impaired. So that was one incident which I kept going back to the school. First, I was just wanting to complete the number of hours. But if I skip school for like a week or 15 days, and when I go back, the amount of love that I received from those children were so different, and I really wanted to stay back. And then the second one was a Brooklyn community that I visited, part of the NSS tenure. So I have never been to a Brooklyn community. That was the first time in a Brooklyn community. I've never seen people how they make bricks. It's like super hot where they make, right? And there are people barefoot. And later I got to know that they are bonded laborers. Organization like International Justice Mission is actually working there. On the way back, I really wanted to work in that sector, and that's how I figured out there is MSW, which I can do. And that also had perks of traveling, 2 days of field work. I got associated with multiple organizations. And then I was working with different organizations in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, Bangalore, Delhi. And then I had moved to Hyderabad like 4 years back, worked for a social enterprise who are into English and life skills. And then I got into corporate because I wanted to get into the implementation part of it. I strongly believe, I mean, no offense, there could be people who are not professional social workers, but I strongly believe a person who comes from a social work background, social work degree, sees and approaches things very, very differently than somebody who is coming from a non-social work background. Yeah. Thank you. That's how the journey is.
Wonderful. That's very, very, very thoughtful. People, when they get exposed to any problem, either they ignore and then choose to do something. Hats off to you for choosing social sector and doing and contributing what you're doing at your space. Listening from the experience, how and what made social work, choosing how to do social work or CSR, I'll definitely come to Krishna sir, who has more than a decade experience building impactful programs and implementing projects at the grassroots. Sir, my question to you would be a little different than the regular questions. I would definitely ask you that the CSR initially started with the philanthropy approach, is no more as a philanthropy, it's more strategic now. How do you see this, or how do you bring your experience to create more strategic or high quality, impactful CSR programs?
Very good question, Kamal. First of all, to enlighten ourselves, to understand what exactly the CSR 1.0. So the CSR 1.4 is mere philanthropy, because people all know maybe 20, 30 years ago, CSR is mere philanthropy, going to an orphanage home, or maybe going to a community, help them, giving the food, groceries, the kind of support. It's primarily a philanthropy. It's not sustained in manner. Coming to CSR 2.0, when the Act has come into play, there is a regulatory framework. The CSR Act in the Schedule 7 clearly talked about what to do, the compliances around it. Then it was merely a compliance. For the sake of compliance, people start doing activities. They are spending 2% or not, or if the accounting is done. It went into that direction. Even if that was not spent, given to PM's relief fund, is whatnot. Many things were there. Now we are at CSR 3.0. That's the thing which we are expecting as well. It's more of creating a social impact. It's no more number of projects. For example, X company, or for example, my company, Cyient, is doing some 7 projects, some 3 lakh beneficiaries. No, it's gone the case now. It's more of creating sustainable social impact through collaboration or creating the ecosystem around us, or institutionalizing the CSR. Ajar Bhai is here. So Ajar sir was there when we signed an MOU with all state universities, sir, in front of you in LB Stadium. We were talking about sports and other things. SAR was there. It's more of, Honorable CM was there. We signed an MOU with State Government of Telangana for 5 state universities where we wanted to do entrepreneurial capacity building. We wanted to create entrepreneurs in Telangana and see that they become potential job givers rather than job seekers. It's like more of collaboration. So collaborating with state, collaborating with institutions, state-owned institutions, and creating the ecosystem around it, are more of institutionalizing is the CSR now. So there you can sustain and deliver very good work and create large impact rather than doing projects and small beneficiaries count. That's what my take is on this, Kamal.
Wonderful, sir. I mean, I'm sure knowing Krishna, sir, he can speak about it day long. And I think you should definitely take walks for us, the young people who are getting into CSR. Having said that, that's a very thoughtful approach towards the CSR you have been doing. Thank you for that, sir. Thank you for that insight. Coming from the CSR, then I would definitely like to go to Yasasswini regarding the social impact or entrepreneurship. It's not easy. It's always working or doing the balancing between running an organization, raising funds, and how do you see beyond grant making or fundraising? How do you sustain? How do you work in social entrepreneur space?
So I believe in a strong point that the people who we are benefiting, they should see the CSR fund and the organizations as a stakeholder rather than a beneficiary. Only then you can, provide a revenue generating model so that even if the funding stops also, they will be confident enough to learn that skill, build some enterprise around it, and be it a revenue generating model. For example, I have earlier worked with a lot of NGOs, like there is an existing NGO in Telangana, Teach for Change. I have worked as the project head for Andhra Pradesh chapter. But 10 years back, the necessity and the knowledge about CSR and funding, how to be a beneficiary of it, it is a different game. Now it is a different game again, okay? So when a beneficiary becomes a stakeholder and generates it as a revenue model, the purpose of some company coming and giving you a CSR fund makes sense. They will have that goodwill to come and reinvest in your state or to other districts who are lacking the opportunity, etc. So to create that, to bridge that gap, we have come up with a resource revival program where every district has its own resource. Like one district is abundant in coconut coir, one district is abundant in banana fiber. So different districts have different resources, and when you can implement the local youth governance to learn the skill, stay in the village, and do a revenue generating model. That is how I think the purpose of CSRs coming down and funding a project makes sense. So that is how we have mended the ways to bring entrepreneurs like that. And it will also reflect, since the youth is staying back in the rural villages, they are close to their families, available for their families. The happiness index of the state also parallelly increases. So that is how we have emerged from a decade to now and, adapted those opportunities around us.
Yeah, I very rightly mentioned, like it's not easy anymore to run a social entrepreneurship. It's not easy to raise grants or funding anymore. Not like 5 years back where funding was in a very different way it was, and now there's a lot of compliances, a lot of strategic approach, lobbying, licensing, and everything else. So well put. And listening to CSR and then social entrepreneur, I would definitely would like to understand from Suma ma'am. Ma'am, knowing your work, and you always talk about doing the baseline, understanding the real problem, understanding how we can measure those impact, and creating a robust monitoring evaluation framework. I remember when we approached you back then, very less people are talking about monitoring evaluation, but I understand that how important it was through you. If you can just shed a little light that how do you think we can go beyond only output and do real impact assessment and report it. What is your take on this?
See, when you talk about impact, most of the forgotten factor here is time. Yeah, when you do a program, what immediately comes is an output, yes. So it's all about how many students are trained, how many assets were distributed, yes, that speaks. But then the outcome is what is the income generated? And then the important picture is, what is that income actually changing? What is the income doing to the person's agency? Is it making a change in its confidence or in the next generation? So there was this incident where we went to a rural Telangana, and there was this single mother who's a BD worker. She said, na koduku bokkalo scanner ayindu. She doesn't know that it's a radiologist. She very proudly said, my son became a doctor. And then there is this father who said, a crippled father, he said, my daughter cleared all my debts and she's built this house for me. And then there is this rural, tribal woman down in Maharashtra. She says, now I know what documents I am signing on. I know to read. So this is what we're talking about. So I understand that when you talk about impact, yes, numbers speak volumes. I definitely understand numbers speak volumes. But at the same time, it is these experiences, it's these lived experiences which will definitely talk about the depth of change we're talking about. So when you talk about impact, so when you're designing the program, it starts right from there. You try to map your intended outputs and your incomes, your impact. You give a certain gestation for it to be measured. You monitor it over a period of time. See whether your program is reaching the right set of beneficiaries. Can you make any modifications if it is not going as per it? And then you measure it. So numbers definitely will talk about scale, but these lived experiences talk about the depth of change.
Very rightly mentioned, ma'am. I mean, I understand if we are doing any intervention and we do not measure the impact, it sometimes goes very off in terms of understanding whether this program or initiative working or not. Thank you for that insight, ma'am. Again, I would come back to Revika, if you can, knowing your work, understanding, and your day-to-day job at Persistent. I understand that you deal with a lot of NGO. I understand you work with a lot of NGO and scrutiny before you invest. So what would be that three things make you confident or make you invest in different NGOs?
There are definitely not just three things,
Yeah.
so many things. But probably the first three would be, we would see how self-sufficient the organization is. When we scout for organizations, we definitely see that. Because if we are to step out from that organization in 2 or 3 years, the organization should run on its own. The project should run on its own. So we ensure that is done through the due diligence that we do. We check on their track record, their budget, their finances, who their funders are, donors are. And when we see numbers, it's not just the number of projects or something that they have done. It is more of beneficiaries, but as she mentioned, it is the stakeholders that we look into. Then second thing would be the ability to scale up. Because again, if we are to leave or if we are to continue also, we cannot be running on the same numbers, right? It would be nice to see more impact. So I think the ability to scale up is also very, very important, especially to the emerging trends that is happening in the market, to all of that. If they are adaptable, then we would go with that. One more thing is, because it is all social enterprises, we would definitely see how relevant the social issue is, like how genuine the pressing need is at the moment, right? So recently I was watching this video where it's a social enterprise called Soapin. So some like 3 young girls who were like 23, 24 have started this organization called Soapin, where they do pens which are actually soap, like color pens. They have started that because they had read that there are like 1.5 million children who die every year under 5, because all of that can be prevented just by hand washing. They consume paint, colors, sketch pens, right? Because of that. So they have invented this, and that is so relevant to the context, right? So such relevancy is also something that is very important. Apart from this, there is also one thing that we look into organizations when we invest, which is subject matter experts. Like if it's an education organization, it would be better working with someone who has spent like good amount of time in that particular field. So these are some of the things we definitely look into.
I mean, definitely. I mean, those parameters, I mean, the audience must have understood. But one thing caught my, ear, that is, handovers. I mean, when we talk about AI, when we talk about STEM lab, everything is fantastic. That should be there. But working in various districts right now in Adilabad, Kothagudam, and even Narayanpet, it's very heartbreaking to see that students do not even have access to toilet. And when we're talking about fantastic technology, great. But you also look at this parameter where we can go beyond Hyderabad, go beyond surrounding or suburbans and do some work at those places. I mean, it's fantastic point that we focus more on WAS programs and habits. Backstage we were speaking about behavioral change. Wonderful. I mean, such a great point. I mean, that makes me to come back to Krishna sir again. Sir, I would like to understand the scenario or the current space of CSR is not like only giving funding. It's more about systemic change. And I also, offline, we spoke about bringing people together and doing something which sustainable. That's the buzzword now. Talking about sustainability. How do you see we can bring more sustainability to the program and do more systemic change?
Yeah, again, a good question. So first of all, to have a sustainable outcomes, or a sustainable project, that doesn't mean that it only endures quite a long time. That's the perception people has. Sustainable means it's not only to endure for quite a long time, it also should scale up, as Revika said. It should reach more number of people. So that way, the sustainable and scale can be achieved through institutionalized partnerships. First of all, corporates, for example, may have financial resources. They can bring a lot of funds into it. And the governments can help on infrastructure, because primarily I am doing a program right now in Telangana. I am touching 500 engineering colleges. So where this infrastructure is being played a critical role, because if I wanted to deliver some of the training programs, I need to have a classroom setup or audio visuals. Most of the universities and good colleges has everything. Only thing is I need to bring the faculty and resources into play. So the institutions come from the infrastructure, also comes from the government. So if you bring the governments and the institutions and the corporate financial funding, the very important part is NGOs. So these are the ones who has clear understanding at the ground level. What are the real impact things? For example, I say that, okay, roll out a AI training program. They say that, sir, don't roll out AI training program. Let's concentrate on a health worker training program, or maybe a bedside assistance training program, which is very relevant because a lot of need in the society and community, because most of them are working and their elderly parents left at home. Somebody has to take care of them. Not necessary to be a nurse, a bedside care assistant would do for you. They knew the ground reality. They knew the real impact where it comes from. So all these four can come together. It can be more sustainable and scalable. So not only the duration, people generally look at, okay, I need to run the program for 5 years. Don't look at that. You also see that how you can scale and ensure that the programs runs quite a long time and creating large impact in the society and community. All those four should come together to make this possible. Yeah,
So,
come on.
thank you, sir. I mean, knowing you personally, I must tell you, friends, Krishna sir is not only talking, he walked the talk. I mean, he always there to open access, whether we're doing any conference, whether any connect we want, or he has been doing it very spontaneously. We don't need to follow up and rigorously do, calls to him. So he walks the talk in, in that sense when he says that, okay, you should come together, not only, funding, but going beyond funding and supporting each other and creating an ecosystem. And that will definitely help you to create more systemic change. From there, I would like to again come to Yasasswini. You rightly mentioned that the scenario of funding and social enterprise, NGO, has changed drastically. If you have to start your organization right now, what would you do differently?
So, since I told you the case was different, first I would like to, ask the policy makers or whoever, what is the Dwakra system doing elsewhere in the country? Do any government have any guts to touch the purpose of, is the purpose really being justified? No. We all know that. but it relies on the majority vote bank and the lack of access for the skill to enhance the women to become more entrepreneurs has to emerge. So you cannot expect the household women to go somewhere else out of their village and do things as such for training and development. As in the transition, I've observed people are not wanting lectures; they just want the prize. I'm coming today, I'm learning something. What am I going to do end of the day, and how am I going to sell it tomorrow? So moderators or stakeholders or CSR partners or departments coming in collaboration, they have to work on the process of making a byproduct of something. So if I would have to start 10 years back, I would have took circular economy then only. I have initially worked on, language development, culture development, other factors. So, because I see there is a price in circular economy, it is constituting, if you take craft and culture preservation, it is constituting to the second generation artisan livelihood. It is constituting to the craft and culture and heritage of your state going places, be it in the history of it or be it economically viable products. The skilled artisans are increasing and the people who can, learn the skill and keep it, the GI tagged or the prescribed whatever specialization of that craft from that place, specifically Andhra Pradesh. So I would have rather started it that way. So by now, circular economy would have become a great thing in the state. So that was one factor I always wanted to. But never too late to start anything new. So we are taking the baby steps. We are a newly formed state, but we are not anywhere less potential. So that is how we are going to emerge in circular economy and other entrepreneurship programs further.
So rightly, I mean, very well put. I mean, the government has the skill, corporate, the CSR grant making agency has resources, and the organization like yours has a lot of potential to bring the ground knowledge and implement the program really well. The point is access. When you are talking about access, how we can bring them like all together would be a challenge. I mean, hats off to you. They bring, you're doing that job really well. Thank you for that, answer. From there, when you were doing a lot of program, whether it's CSR or the corporate, I would come to Sumama again to understand that how impact or evidence could make us, whether it's NGO or the CSR, to make better decision and how.
So when you talk about funding and evidence, when you generally say that a certain program is not actually giving the kind of expected impact you're telling, the first decision would quite be, okay, let's stop funding this. But then I think evidence plays an important role in understanding where exactly is the implementing challenge. So there's this one program of ours where we've evaluated and we've seen the program went very well. There was high percent attendance, women attended with very much enthusiasm. There was a high pass percentage and everything. But when it had post-intervention, when it came to income generation, only 20% of the women were earning. So when you look at numbers, you might say, oh, only 20% are earning. So I don't think the funding is justified, so we can stop funding.
Yeah.
But then I think when you really deeply look into it, what we've realized was these women did not have the equipment. They were trained in a tailoring program, but they did not have an equipment to take the orders and start stitching. And they were not in a position to financially buy one. So when we took this data back to the client has come up with saying that, okay, let's do one thing. Let's open our skill center doors for them. Ask them to pay 10 rupees per day. Use the machines and start taking orders from the community and start using these equipments. And that's when the graph started going up. So evidence, at one point evidence tells us what is not working, but at the other point evidence also tells us what is hindering the program. And even after you redesign the program and still if it is not working, if still it's not scaling up, that's when you'll have to think about moving to another better program. But evidence definitely helps you out in understanding what has gone better, what could be a much better way of doing it, and when is it we can actually stop doing it.
So rightly well put. So I would love to talk and ask more questions and understand more, but I understand we're running a little late, and I do not want to hold all of them for the lunch. But I would like to ask the last question. So the whole idea of having academia, CSR, and organization working at the grassroots, how can we come together to create more or better impact? And this question is open to all, whoever would like to take it.
So the first thing is you have to be empathized. And you have to have that gratitude of the opportunities that are available with you, not just relying on the government that they would always give you some employment, which is very basic. You have to think out of your box. Why not? Why can I not become an entrepreneur? Why should I only wait for a campus placement? If campus placement in a good organization is your plan A, let entrepreneurship be also plan B. And if you can constitute something to environmental sustainability and generate some revenue to your own state, so that would be a greater empathy for your own state to become it better. So then falls the potential CSR stakeholders, then falls the multinational companies who want to come and invest in your state. So I think empathy plays a major role in that.
Surely.
One thing that comes to my mind is any program which is designed, it should be democratic and not autocratic. Like corporates or NGOs should not decide what the beneficiary actually want. It is the beneficiary that should actually come from. That they lack this need, they want the skilling, okay, we are ready to work on it. I think that way a lot of problems get solved on field.
So I think it is the collaboration. Government is a bigger platform. CSRs have the expertise now, as sir is telling. They started moving from small activities to long-term project-oriented. They started hiring developmental professionals. And then you have NGOs who are grassroots expertise. And then you have social enterprises which are addressing the real problem. So I think a collaboration of all these together is what the magic and the pathway to become a bigger impact problem solution.
Ladies covered everything. Thanks.
Wonderful. What I understood around my takeaway would be from the panel would be collaboration. I think coming together, and that was the whole idea when I spoke to them to bring to this panel academia again and the CSR and the grassroots, how to understand how we can collaborate and amplify our impact. I would thank you so much for joining this panel today. Would love to open for the question, but I think the organizer has been they're taking the time. If I can hear a round of applause for my panel, would be great. Thank you so much. With that note, I'm expecting that we'll do more collaboration with the corporate, with the government, with the organization like social development organization, alongside with the citizen. And from there, I would like to thank you all of you for listening and having time. And thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone, for joining this session. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists, for an inspiring conversation on building purpose-driven enterprises.
I can see it was a truly informative session and also a very interactive one when all the panelists and the moderator were continuously interacting with their insights and a lot of experiences were being shared. So thank you so much.